We'll call to order this committee of the whole meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, and welcome all members of the committee, and say good evening to everybody who is watching us on the live stream this evening. We're very glad that you're with us. So the second item on the agenda is disclosures of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if they have one of those they'd like to declare at this time. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions, deletions, amendments. We have no open forum, but we do have two delegations, and the first one is from Bruce Wallace, the president and CEO of the Nuclear Innovation Institute, and he's here to talk to us about the NII virtual opening event. Bruce.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, councillors and terrific staff at Saugeen Shores. Thanks for the opportunity to come before you tonight and for allowing us to formally open the NII building with you. You know, we start with the advantage of this being a very famous building to begin with. Everybody knows this place, whether they'll admit it or not. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman came to the door and asked if this was the place he should come to pay his tickets. And I said, absolutely, cash only. But I joke. But we do start from that position of strength that people know where we are. But we've made a few changes, a little bit, some to the outside and more to the inside. So we do have a short video. I know some of you councillors and others have been in to see the building, but many people haven't. So we do have a short video here, which we'd love to show now, just a bit of an introduction to the place.
Hi, I'm Mike Brinchek, President and CEO of Bruce Power. And today, as the chair of the Nuclear Innovation Institute's Board of Directors, I'd like to welcome you virtually to NII's new space here in the heart of Saugeen Shores. You see, the Nuclear Innovation Institute is really bringing a new energy to technology development in the region, particularly as Canada's clean energy frontier is now beginning. And there are a number of exciting projects that we have underway with a talented staff. We're working on things like carbon sequestration, advanced modular reactors, and a hydrogen economy, as well as looking at the environmental footprint that some of our industries have in the area. The NII staff are dedicated to providing also an enhanced educational opportunity for the youth in our area, and that's Bruce, Grey, and Huron counties, but also extending all throughout the province. In other words, we're looking to bring technology here into our area so that our children have the same advantages that children would have in the bigger cities. So enjoy this virtual tour, and we look forward to welcoming everyone here in person when it's safe to do so. But until then, we'll do it virtually. And again, Saugeen Shores, thank you for your support.
Excellent. So that's what we've done to the old police station. But those are just the physical changes. The real change is to what's possible on the inside, to what goes on in here. And the answer to that really is going to be whatever your imagination sort of allows. We have plans to hold exhibits here, to hold lectures and workshops, for this to be a place for community groups to come in, make videos, to run classes. We hold science fairs. Really, it's unlimited what goes forward. The key is for NII to be open to the community. I don't mean like a Starbucks where you come and hang out all day, but I mean where things are programmed and where life goes on. This place cannot be a mystery to the community. We want people to be inside, people of all ages, and we plan to do that, and we will. Now, COVID has obviously interfered with our plans to sort of open up the way we had hoped, but it didn't stop us. We've pivoted that police garage that you saw there, which was once supposed to be a place where we would hold technology showcases, et cetera. For the moment, it's actually become a studio where we're able to broadcast it, and we've broadcast our coding academy from there, where we've reached literally thousands of kids right across the counties, and including in schools now, where we're providing teachers with in-class coding work. But also we ran a best ever summer camp through there last year, a combination of virtual and real world experiences. We're going to do that again. We've got plans for a Mars landing camp coming up on spring break, should it ever happen. And all of this sort of fits into the larger goals and mission of the NII, which is to make sure that we're bringing value to the community and that we're a platform and a place for ideas. So we're looking for ideas, and we want to be part of sort of helping navigate our way through these sort of crazy, amazing, infuriating, and exciting times. So bring us your ideas. We really want to see you. We hope we can really, literally open our doors soon. And we just want to thank Saugeen Shores. We're thrilled to be here. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Bruce. We're pretty thrilled too. I have to say, before I turn it over to everybody, I hope somebody will take that video and email it to Dan Rivet, because you'll be able to knock him over with a feather after he sees that. Anyway, are there questions or comments from members of the committee? Councillor Mayette, and I'll get Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Thanks, Bruce, for that wonderful introduction. And I did have the pleasure of touring the Institute with you. And I so look forward to the day when you will be able to welcome people in the door. I know there's great things just waiting to happen there. It's got such a high tech and an innovative feel to it. I'm just really looking forward to it. Do you see a time when you may be reaching out to other STEM-minded initiatives going on in the province, or maybe even in the country? Do you see collaboration possibilities going on? That's one thing that came to mind for me.
Absolutely. It's very important that we're rooted and founded here. This is where we start. But those connections, this is about connecting this community to other places as well. So through our educational programming, which is under the umbrella of NII Explore, we've already begun doing that. We've reached out to the national museums, Ingenium, which is the consortium of three, the Ag Museum and the Air and Space Museum and the Science and Technology Museum. Philip Craig, who runs that program, was in touch with the Ontario Science Centre just this morning, I think it was. So we're looking for those opportunities all the time to blend that and to bring the world here, and also to take the great stuff we have here out to them as well.
Terrific.
Yeah, that's great. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, and Bruce, to your team, and no doubt with the support of the Bruce Power Communications team as well. I've watched what were formerly the safety videos of Bruce Power progress to these professional montages, and that video was a great way of showing us, without actually being there, all of the changes that have been made. So kudos to you. We also saw a number of familiar faces. We saw Dana and Chad and Philip. So it was great to see those people that are already integrated in the community with that sense of connection that you've described. And if I could just give one more plug to the Shore Report, we had Philip Craig on our podcast, not last episode, but the one before, where he talked about a number of these things. And that level of connection that you've described is just, it's seen through and through. So thanks for your diligence.
Well, thanks very much for that. If there's one thing that actually I'm personally most proud of over the last year is the team that's here. This is just a great group of young, smart, ambitious, energetic people, either from here or they've moved here, most of them from here in the first place. And it's just fantastic. It's a great environment to be in every day. COVID again has impinged upon that a little bit in the last few weeks, but before that, we had built safely built a good sense of team, and it's terrific to watch them work together. So thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Councilor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Bruce. Nice to see you again. Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt and I sit on the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority Board, and we've been updated a number of times about the great work you're doing with them to update the environmental hazard mapping, which is going to be so important for laying the groundwork for more development, and also the work that you're doing with our education department in the SVCA.
Yes.
So that's really terrific. The other thing, just a couple of weeks ago, we heard about the new app that NPX has developed in conjunction with you, the foodbrucegray.com. And that's just wonderful. I know that's being shared with municipalities across the country. So thank you for all your work.
Well, thanks very much for that. Francesca's been great. She's full of ideas at United Way, which is terrific. I have to give full credit to NPX for that, for the development of that app. That really was their work internally, and they've done we were involved in early discussions, but that's there. So full props to them on this.
Yeah. I think I saw the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Bruce, thanks for the presentation. I really enjoyed the tour as well. A few weeks, but might have been a month or two now, I guess, ago now that we did that, but very impressive facility, and again, congratulations and welcome to your new position, although not so new, but you've been there a little while now. But Bruce, I'm just wondering, major partners, could you share with council just how that's coming along? Like, I'm just interested in who the major partners are that you've been able to bring on board, and some of the names. I'd just be interested in hearing about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. No, not at all. Sorry, are you referring to our founding members? The
Yes.
ones who
Yes.
Yes, that's Connectrix, BWXT, Cameco, the Owners Infrastructure Group, although they go by a different name in that, Bruce Power and the county, ES Fox, and we have another new member who will should be hopefully joining by the end of this week. So
Wow, pretty high profile, and still adding, Bruce, or is that, is there? How does it work in terms of limiting?
Absolutely still adding. I mean, we want to, we're very focused on delivering value to the members who've established this place. And again, just as we are to the community that we're a part of. So we're very focused on growing smartly. So we have big ambitions and we will grow, but the key is to make sure that everyone's understanding what we're doing as we go, as we proceed. So we'll sort of swallow like the snake swallowing the elephant. We'll do it slowly and in pieces.
Well, thanks again, Bruce. Wonderful addition to the community. We're just, boy, it's a great day for Saugeen Shores. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further comments from members? I think Kara had a comment she wanted to make. Kara?
Thank you, Mayor. And following on the tails of the rest of council, I just wanted to thank Bruce. I got a tour last week of the facility. And I just wanted to acknowledge and recognize the Nuclear Innovation Institute and its location here in Saugeen Shores. We're absolutely thrilled to partner with you. We're also excited to work with you to host the Municipal Innovation Council and look forward to lots of innovative and exciting projects to work on in partnership with the Nuclear Innovation Institute. So thank you for your time last week, Bruce, and I look forward to working with you.
Fantastic. So do we. Thanks, Karen.
Well, thanks very much. I guess I'd just say, Bruce, Saugeen Shores considers itself extremely fortunate to have the Nuclear Innovation Institute inside its borders. What you've done to our building is tremendous, and more importantly, all the work and all the partnerships that you've already created. One that hasn't been mentioned yet is the project at Fairy Lake, which is just what a fantastic opportunity to help a vital piece of nature in our community and use the benefits of the folks that you can bring around the table. And that's the great thing, to have an institute supported by all the people you just mentioned who can bring people to our community, whether it's virtually or in person, and help us solve problems. We're just a small town, but we can get help from some of the smartest people in the world. Because the Nuclear Innovation Institute is here, and that's a real that's a real opportunity for us that you guys have created. And so thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you for the work you're doing, and we're looking forward to working closely together going forward.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, councilors.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bruce. We'll have a good night. And that'll move us then on to our second delegation, which is from Doug Flowers of the Port Elgin Curling Club. And he's here to talk to us about the Curl On Curling Bonspiel 2022. Mr. Flowers. Oh, you're on mute still there, Doug. Still muted. Oh, there you go.
Does that work there now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I mean, you still hear me there now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll start over again. Thank you, Mayor Charbonneau and Council. Since curling is going to be playing a bigger role in our community over the next year than has been normal, I am going to provide some basic information about our committee, our local club, and curling in general that basically complements the staff report that you have. Our Tankard committee is being led by a steering committee made up of 4 people, all members of the Port Elgin Curling Club. We're all avid curlers, and we're all passionate about our community. Kate Hagan is a native of Port Elgin, and she's a teacher at the high school. She has played at the highest levels of the sport, most notably the Ontario Scotties Tournament of Hearts. As you may know, the 2021 national version of that Tournament of Hearts is being played this week at the Bubble in Calgary. Kate knows events from the competitive player side. Earl Anderson is our club president, and he is a local businessman. He is with me here actually tonight for this presentation. Many of you will know Earl from his role on the board of both Pumpkin Fest and the Chamber of Commerce. And most of you will know Brian Crabb as a longtime veterinarian in Port Elgin. Brian is now retired, and he brings his business experience and acumen to our leadership. Myself, I've spent most of my career in the curling industry, and I've participated in the organization of a number of curling events over the years. It is always the volunteers, however, that can make an event a success. We will be relying on up to 200 volunteers. They will come from our club, other curling clubs in the area, and from the community at large. You don't have to be a curler to work with us on the Tankard. Given the history of Saugeen Shores with events such as Pumpkin Fest and the Grand Fondo, we know we have a strong and competent volunteer base. So what about our vision, our purpose? We of course want to bring economic stimulus to the community in February. Beyond that, we want to focus community attention on curling and to get more people involved, not only in Port Elgin, but throughout Saugeen Shores and the surrounding area. Funds generated by the Tankard will be used for club infrastructure, for modernization of our facility, and for broadening our participant base. We'd also like to demonstrate that we can run a successful curling event of this scale. Curling can often fly under the radar in a community. What's happening at the Port Elgin Curling Club is actually quite exciting right now. The club is busy all week, we're growing in numbers, and we're figuring out how to appeal to that elusive millennial market. We've been awarded the Tankard, and our annual Super Spiel is going to become a sponsored World Curling Tour event. We are also awakening to the fact that we, as a community, have all the ingredients to attract other curling events and all the benefits that accrue to that. The scale of our community, our accessibility, the plex, our accommodations, our service community, our volunteer base, and our proven sponsor base position us to attract certain nationally televised events in the future. Other events of an appropriate scale would include a Grand Slam of curling event, the Canadian Juniors, or the World Juniors. All to say, once we get the Tankard under our belt, there are other opportunities if we so choose. A reflection of the larger consequence of curling is seen in the fact that 6 of the top 10 sports programs on TSN during a peak week in March are curling broadcasts. The Men's World Championship and final, in fact, is now broadcast in over 100 countries. In my former career, I was involved in a project we call Corporate Curling. We prepared a business development program using curling as a metaphor for the business world. It involved bringing all staff from a business or a department to a curling club for 2 days. What I learned through that project was that curling was the only sport when every member of the company or the department could participate in the game and be on a relatively equal footing. Old, young, male, female, athlete, klutz, able, wheelchair, deaf, blind. Everyone could participate and have fun. No other sport affords such broad inclusivity. While we are working on greater ethnic diversity in our club, we are diverse in every other respect. Very coincidentally, Owen Sound long held the attendance record for a tankard. It is a reflection of the fact that people in this area know how to put together a good event, but also within a few hours drive from here, there are over 40 curling clubs. Despite curlers' reputation for being nice and sportsmanlike, it is our intention to best our neighbor city. In closing, I wish to extend an invitation to council members to attend an official tankard launch, COVID friendly, of course, at the Port Dublin Curling Club this coming Saturday, the 27th, which happens to be Curling Day in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Doug, what time of day on Saturday is that event?
Well, the Curling Day in Canada at the Curling Club is actually going from about 10 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And we have different functions going on. We really wanted to communicate with you folks and see what was convenient with you and then set something up that's appropriate. And we weren't thinking of something that was going to involve a lot of people, but possibly just, we'd love to have Mr. Mayor Charbonneau there and any other councils that wish to attend, possibly on the ice, throwing a rock. I understand that some of you have actually curled. And
Yeah.
I know your parents.
Not
do.
well, but yes.
Well, that speaks for a lot of us. No, but we'd like to communicate with your staff and find out what works with you.
Sure. Well, we can, that can happen offline, and we'll certainly communicate and let all of council know what the plan is. All right, questions for members of council then. We'll start with the Vice Deputy Mayor and then get Councillor Schreider.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation, Doug. And I was had the good fortune of working in Owen Sound at the time, the Parks Recreation Department, when Labatt's Tankard came in, having to book that facility for the club, and it was an incredible event, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in economic spin-offs, and the place was just rocking down there at the Bayshore Community Center, and so I have a firsthand experience what it looks like and the amount of work goes into it, Doug. And I know you're in for there's a lot of work ahead of you, I know, and but sounds like you've got a really good committee working on it. So I just wanted to, congratulate the Port Algon Curling Club for doing this. It, being awarded the Tankard is no small feat, and to have it right here in Saugeen Shores is pretty incredible when you think about it. And it's a huge event, huge undertaking. So thanks for doing it. I just wondered, how many curlers do you think? Two things. How many curlers are you're expecting, and what about from a spectator standpoint? I guess that's kind of an unknown, but I know people will show up in droves. But how many curlers are you expecting?
Well, we're expecting an average of 1,000 a day. It does build. The first couple of days are not near as intense as the last couple of days. We would like to make sure that we have the plex filled for Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
It's a lot of curlers throughout the area. It's an awful lot of former curlers, especially early in the week. A lot of retired people are able to come. But it's also just general people from the community who love to take a look at high caliber curling. Yeah,
seeing a facility transformed, into a curling rink is spectacular. I've seen it happen, and I'm sure you have the best ice maker available to you to put, make sure it's Shorty. Was it Shorty Jenkins? Shorty, is he still around, by the way?
No, Shorty actually passed away about 5 years ago, I think.
I wondered, best ice maker available, but I'm sure you've got something up your sleeve for the ice making. But anyways, thanks again, and bring something like this into the shoulder season in February is truly remarkable. So thanks again for all your good work.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Schreider.
Thank you, and through you, yeah, congratulations, Doug, and to the Port Algon Curling Club. That's exciting. I love to see us test our facilities and transform our facilities and make them multi-use. So that's very, very exciting. I know you mentioned that you are looking for about 200 volunteers. I have a feeling you'll be turning people away because I think there'll be a really good response from our community to host this event. I curl maybe twice a year. I don't do well on the ice, but I do well in the lounge, and I look forward to participating and hopefully volunteering as well. So congratulations, and looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Are further questions from members? Well, thanks very much, Doug. This really is exciting to have been more, this is, some of the highest caliber curlers in the province, the highest caliber curlers in the province. And to have them here in Saugeen Shores and have the chance to see them and just walk down the street and see an event like that, what a great opportunity for our community. And thanks to you and your crew for putting it together. And I guess I would just say that if, as we head through the next year, if there are ways that the town of Saugeen Shores can be of more assistance to help you guys pull this off successfully, we're just a phone call away. So, so make sure to work with us, and it'll be a great event. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're very thankful to your staff already. They've been a great assist to us and very supportive so far. So thank you to them as well. Thank you to you.
That's great to hear.
Mayor.
All right, thanks, Doug. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Off the curve.
Have fun. All right, so that moves us then on to, we have no public meetings, so moves on to item 7, report of municipal officers and committee. And the first is a public notice report, staff report on the municipal budget. And so we'll move it over to the treasurer, Dan Waiter.
Thank you very much, Mayor Charbonneau. That's very exciting news from the curling club there. I'm a little giddy hearing that. I think we're gonna wrap up the budget talks tonight, but I'm gonna try to wrap it up a little earlier next year so I can be booking some vacation next February maybe. Staff have compiled the feedback from council received at the January 11th Committee of the Whole meeting in order to produce a final budget report that sets the Saugeen Shores tax levy for 2021 and formally approves all 2021 spending. The levy is set at a level that produces a 2% blended tax rate increase on residential properties, pending the final county tax bylaw. Due to the province lowering the business education tax on commercial and industrial properties in response to the effect of COVID-19 restrictions, commercial businesses will see a reduction of roughly 3% in their overall blended tax rate in 2021. The report outlines all the changes that have been made since the initial budget presentation on December 7th. Of note, the only items that have changed since the last report to council are additional furnishings for the police building, approved by the Police Services Board and funded from reserve. We also have a final estimate for our insurance costs, funded from our insurance reserve, and the good news of $100,000 in additional Safe Restart funding. I also want to make a small clarification to wording in the report that the amount included for paved shoulders includes only the section of Dahl Side Road that is slated to be resurfaced in 2021, not the entire length from concession 14 to Bruce Road 3. The schedules to the report provide summaries of our final operating budget, capital budget, reserve transfers, and also includes details on tax rates for different property types. The 2021 budget shows net contributions to reserves that maintain the financial stability of the town, and it also includes an increase in the transfer to the legacy reserve of $255,000, resulting in a total contribution to the legacy reserve of over $2.4 million. Staff will return to council by the end of March in order to pass the 2021 tax bylaw, which formally establishes the final rates for each tax class. Thank you, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dan. I'll read the recommendation, and then we'll take questions or comments from members. It's recommended that council approve the municipal budget for the year 2021 as follows. Expenditures operating $26,923,600 $923,607. Capital, $21,039,599 for a total expenditures of $47,963,206. Net reserve contributions from operating, $7,378,447. Capital, negative $5,986,276 for a total 2021 net reserve contribution of $1,392,171. Revenues and other funding under operating, $18,019,248. Under capital, $13,360,236 for a total 2021 revenues and other funding of $31,379,484. Total municipal taxation for operating, $16,282,806. Capital, $1,693,087 for a total 2021 total municipal taxation of $17,975,893. The town of Saugeen Shores tax levy be set, therefore, at $17,975,893. That the BIA levies for 2021 be set at $33,000 for the Port Elgin BIA and $29,350 for the Southampton BIA. And that council pass the tax levy bylaw establishing the 2021 tax rates at a future date. Questions or comments from members of the committee? Councilor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dan, for all of those clarifications. The report talked about the contribution to the Legacy Reserve Fund as being a little bit less than what we had originally thought it was going to be. How much less is that? I tried to look back in my notes and I couldn't see that.
Yeah, so I think it was mostly verbal guidance that I had given previously, just because I was trying to stay away from specific numbers with the uncertainty around county rates and education rates. But the previous verbal guidance that I had given was that a 2% municipal increase would lead to a 2% blended increase and would allow about $350,000 into the legacy reserve. But in actuality, with the final rates that came in, we're only looking at a 1.44% municipal increase for that 2% blended increase.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Further comments? Don't see any. I would just say I appreciate the update, Dan, about the blended commercial rate. I think that is a positive thing that the municipality is going to be able to pass on that little over 3.3% tax reduction to commercial properties in the year 2021. I think our commercial ratepayers are some of our hardest hit ratepayers as a result of their ongoing issues with COVID-19, and so that's another a bit of a subsidy, I guess, to help them cope with those challenges. So yeah, Councilor Schreiber.
Sorry for the late question, but through you, just a question on the additional furnishings for the police services building of $30,000. What is that for? And I'm sorry if I missed information on that.
Can you speak to that, Dan? Or
maybe Dave can answer.
Or do you want the chair to speak to it?
Yeah, I'll allow the chair to speak.
Councilor Maya.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Kirsten. Part of it is not just furniture, but what we've noticed over the past sort of break-in period for the new building is some of the furniture that we brought over hasn't stood up as well as we thought it was going to. Office chairs and some of the stuff that's in the soft areas for family and victim services type areas. So we're upgrading those a little bit. We're also putting in chair rails in the common areas because we're noticing that we're getting rubs on the drywall that's degrading the look of the walls. So there's a bunch of things that are encompassed in there, but they're all sort of break-in points, and they were all justified substantially by the chief through the board.
Perfect, Dave. Thanks so much for that. I know that was a very well managed project, and I think under budget, if I recall, as well. So that's awesome. Thanks.
Okay. Is there anything else from anybody? I don't see any. So you've heard the recommendation. I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right, that then moves us on to, sorry, I'm just going to flash back here. General government and a staff report on the MIC solid waste management service review and the director of strategic initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Municipal Innovation Council received provincial funding through the first intake of the Municipal Modernization Program to advance a solid waste management service review. Prior to the MIC forming, area CIOs had discussed a desire to review waste management with the intent to find efficiencies in how we individually operate with regards to waste management. Dave Shorey, Innovation Officer, and I managed this project, which included engagement with elected officials by way of memo from Dillon Consulting and a virtual workshop with the subject matter experts across the Municipal Innovation Council. Dave and I are grateful for the feedback received from all MIC members, and I will note that other member councils are in the process of receiving this report before we advance with our next step, which is a public meeting. So with that, on March 11th, Dillon Consulting will offer a presentation of the report to all stakeholders and will gather feedback. Following the public meeting, Dave Shorey will be putting together the waste management subject matter experts and further discuss the recommendations included in the review. So with that, when all of that feedback has been received, Dave and I are going to work together to prepare a report to the MIC. And then at this time, the Municipal Innovation Council will consider collaborative next steps. So I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll read the recommendation, then we can take questions or comments. It's recommended that Council receive the Solid Waste Management Service Review Report presented by the Municipal Innovation Council, prepared by Dillon Consulting. Questions or comments from members? We'll get Councillor Schreider and then Councillor Grace.
That's great. Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Jess. This is a great report. Always been a fan of the MIC, and this is, I think, just a great example of the collaboration that we're going to have across the municipalities and the county as well. Can you just maybe shed some light on when you talk about next steps? So we're receiving this report tonight. There'll be an opportunity for members of council of all the municipalities to provide feedback, the public meeting. And then what are those next steps? So when you say there's a bunch of recommendations in there, it comes back to our council in order to move forward with anything, especially with regards to financial responsibility. But could you just explain that process perhaps for us?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Councillor. So we will be engaging with the stakeholders at this March 11th. The community of practice, which is our subject matter experts. So, you know, I call this group the Amandas, right? The Amanda Froes, Colin Saunders, these roles throughout the Municipal Innovation Council. So Dave will be working with them and facilitating that conversation to really look at the recommendation and knowing as the experts and the boots on the ground, when we look at these recommendations and the timeline of them, how, you know, do they make sense? Do we want to pursue, you know, in order? And really what then Dave and I will be doing is bringing that report back to the MIC saying, this is what we've learned in regards to recommendations. This is where we think we need to go next and really chart that path. So with that, there may be opportunity maybe to apply for funding again to move forward with some of the work. Maybe we look at our collective budget of the MIC and suggest that item 1 we want to move with, and we will fund that through the MIC budget. Looking through that line, and it's a little difficult to answer without having those conversations yet, but once we have that path, we'll be able to determine if it's something we want to collaboratively do, certainly coming back to our individual councils, suggesting this is, you know, the direction we would like to go and here's why, or is it an opportunity for individual councils to take a piece of that recommendation and advance that on their own. So it's a little difficult to say at this point, but I do invite council, and I hope that you'll join us on March 11th to have that greater dialogue with some of the other elected officials that are involved with the MIC.
No, that's a perfect answer for that, and it just maybe helps us understand, members of the public that are listening, just kind of what that process is like. And you know, obviously collaboration will probably get us, you know, far enough where we want to get to. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Jess.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jessica, for a great report. Very encouraging, I think. Gives me hope anyway that we can make strides in managing what's one of our our biggest issues, I think, as municipalities in managing our solid waste. And I think probably some of the questions that I asked you this afternoon are probably better saved for the public meeting where we can ask of the consultant. But I did want to just mention a couple of things that I really liked. I think the idea of pooling or ending up with a countywide system, if we can do that, I think it really offers us a lot of advantage in terms of cost-effective management of, for instance, a green bin organics waste program, or something that I read, which I really liked, and I've read about in other places where we can recycle items like appliances and tools so that people can borrow them in libraries. And that would be something that would be managed by the county as well. Anything we can do to reuse as opposed to just throwing out, I think is terrific. One thing I know that one of the big issues is going to be, the intent is this idea of a producer pays system. And that makes a lot of sense, I think, because the producers are the ones who are sometimes producing packaging that can't be recycled, that we don't have that technology. And I have received a couple of messages from Loblaws as a customer. One of them is talking about a system that I got very excited about called Loop. I don't know if anybody saw that, but it's a system that's been in place in the US and other parts of Canada, I think, for a year at least, where you can order products in reusable containers. They're delivered to your house. Then they pick the containers up, the empty containers, and take them back. And depending on how much you order, there's a fee. I very excitedly registered, only to be found out it's not available in our region. So I'm hoping, I think it's a supply and demand thing, right? If more people know about it, more people register, then maybe they'll bring it to our area. One thing also, I know that I noticed that our diversion rate is 28%, which is lower than most of the other municipalities in the MIC. And I suspect from the report and just common sense that probably one of the factors is that we have a high amount of construction and demolition waste. And one of the suggestions in the report is to charge higher landfill tipping fees for non-sorted waste loads as an incentive to sort, for developers or construction companies to sort their waste. I know that Amanda talked about doing something like that. Maybe she can comment. But I just wonder if that incentive is really going to be effective, because I just wonder about developers or construction companies passing on that expense to their customers. It would have to be pretty significant to make a change in behavior. Maybe I'm being pessimistic, or maybe Amanda can comment on that.
Sure, I'll comment on that through you, Mr. Mayor. We did last year, we increased our rates so that the unsorted is 3 times the sorted price. And we can see when the waste diversion report comes out from 2020 what that looked like. We haven't had the 2019 one yet either. The county staff person, that position was vacant this fall, so we haven't seen the 2019 overall pieces, but I can get back to you with what our diversion was that once we instituted that 3 times the rate, if you'd like.
That'd be great. I just have one last point, and that's looking at the population estimates on page 70 that were used to sort of calculate, I guess, the rate of growth and how much that, those population figures would affect the amount of waste to be collected and recycled. And this was something between all of the municipalities in the MIC. And I've already sent this information to Jessica, but in case anybody else was looking at this, I noticed that Concardin's rate, the population figures are expanded out to, I think, the next 10 years based on the rate of growth from 2011 to 2021. And Concardin's was surprisingly much less than ours. I thought that one of the reasons why might be the lack of natural gas, which is going to be coming in, I think, this spring. So just an observation, I guess, that maybe the group wants to take a look at calculations for other municipalities' growth rates, take that into account when you're projecting over the next decade, that having natural gas might increase their growth rate over what you've calculated it as. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Jessica, thank you for the report. Lots of amazing detail in here. I just wondering on page 120, under the recommendation section, year 2023, and Councilor Grace mentioned about the county organics. You're obviously referring to the green bin program, correct? What was the reception? What were you hearing from other municipalities in throughout the county in terms of the green bin program? And is it a distinct possibility that green bin program could actually happen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I may ask Amanda if she's on the line to pop back on, if she has some specifics. I don't have notes right now in front of me in regards to the conversation and the feedback on that item specific, but I think that would be a really good question and discussion point for the March 11th meeting, to really open up that dialogue. And maybe if I could, Mr. Mayor, pass it to Amanda if she has a response.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is public requests that we see about having a green bin program. The province isn't going to require us to do that. Our population isn't large enough. It becomes mandatory for towns or municipalities that are over 50,000 people, but it's something that most of the municipalities have heard of. Right now, it's cost prohibitive for us to look at it. So yes, it's one of those initiatives that, depending on the public input, that MIC could look at countywide, or that we're meeting as a group, the county people, with Dave Shorey in March after this meeting as well.
Thanks. So just to follow up, Mr. Mayor, Amanda, I just read like determine processing options for county organics. So the processing options. So that's still going to be looked at though, is it? When it says processing options for county organics.
The director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I imagine it'll be by the MIC's decision on what moves forward. That way, it's not something that we are looking at as a town individually. We just did that landfill expansion, so it's one of the pieces that we put through as too expensive at the time, but we're looking to see opportunities through this program.
It's something I certainly hear, frequently from community members, particularly people coming up from cities and cottaging and there's seasonal residents saying, where's the green bin program? But what you're saying is, Amanda, it's an extremely, and that's what I've said to residents too, it's a very expensive program to operate is what you're saying, right? It's not a cheap program.
Through you, that's exactly the problem. That's too expensive. But the municipality does offer green cones, the backyard digester, at cost. So we just turn over the price of what that is and encourage residents to purchase those and put those in their backyards.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
All right, further comments? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I got two questions. And if I can get Amanda to come back first. Sorry, Amanda, I'm trying to get you before you left. Would it be possible at our, not the recycling, but at the waste part where we take in our leaves and stuff, would it be possible to set up a bay where people could take out their wet waste themselves? Or is that something you kind of want to stay away from because you have to monitor it a little more? And what are your thoughts on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, organic waste at the landfill collection is completely regulated differently than the leaf and yard waste, and so they would have to be managed separately. It would be a large change to the landfill, but it's something that, like I said, is looked at countywide as well. But how we handle the landfill will be part of this Class EA, so it can come up through that process that GM Blue Plan is working on as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now, my second question goes to Jessica. Jessica, great report. Staff did a great job on this, everybody. But we're looking at always traditional ideas. Is there any chance that this report could come back and talk about non-traditional ways of dealing with waste, such as incinerator or any other type of waste diversion?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. So this this report is very much a service review and very much looking across the members of the Municipal Innovation Council and understanding the current state of waste management. So when we do go through, that's the figure 9 on page 104, when it does start to spell out some of the recommendations, as we move through some of these conversations and these next steps, if moving forward toward an action plan or recommendations for something that might be an incinerator, might be something different, that could be an outcome, but with this report, it's not an outcome at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to plant that seed. I do believe that it is something that all the municipalities in Bruce County should start to look at as their aging landfill sites begin to close in, and it's just something that can provide jobs and create a little bit of extra income at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Are there further comments? I would just make the comment, Jessica, thank you very much for the report, and thanks to the MIC for the effort. I think this is a critical issue for a couple of reasons. One, because the town of Saugeen Shores needs to address its landfill issue. We talked about this in the pretty recent past, and it's an issue that's very relevant to us being able to sustain our future growth, but also because this whole space, landfill, is one that's going to face some disruption, fair bit of disruption in the next few years, particularly as we head towards extended producer responsibility. And our region, unfortunately, in my view, is going to be among the last to move to that model sometime in 2025. But that's going to be, there's a lot of decisions are going to have to be made by the municipalities heading up to that point to decide what kind of relationship we have with those producers, with those private sector partners who will have responsibility for their waste. And the collaboration that we're putting together here will help us to navigate that. I think having a partnership with our neighboring municipalities in the county is going to be the best way to get the best deal. And it's going to be about getting a good deal. It isn't all going to be simple. There's a lot of competing interests in this discussion, and we need to obviously get it right for our ratepayers. So I think this is a great model. If for no other reason, this report is good because it starts to bring the municipalities together on this issue and talk about it together, and bring the county in as well and see where we can land. I think for too long we've sort of been operating in silos on this issue, and the county's plan is now like 25 years out of date, and so I think we definitely have to focus on this issue right away because it's one that we're gonna have a lot of decisions to make on. So thanks for this, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. So you've all heard the recommendation, and I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right, that moves us then on to communications and petitions for information. There are 6 items there. Does anyone have any questions or comments with regard to any of those? I don't see any. So that then moves us on to reports of department heads, and there are 5 reports there. And the first one is an information report on the YMCA partnership and the Director of Community Services.
Thank you. And through you, I wanted to bring council up to date and the community of the upcoming schedule for the new YMCA. These are exciting times for Saugeen Shores. Through the budget process of 2022, we hope to see the development of concept drawings, facility design, and specs, and we'll draw on key stakeholders for input throughout that process. Construction is anticipated to commence in spring 2023 and will most likely take 12 to 14 months to complete. As you know, staff is finalizing the partnership agreement, and we anticipate presenting to council in Q2 of this year. Staff have also been working very closely with the CAO, Gail Graham of the YMCA, and look forward to working with Sarah Cowley, who will be taking over the post of Executive Director on March 22nd as Gail enters into her retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on that report, the Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Jane, going back to the October 2019 report that last came to council about what it is that we would be having, could you please refresh me, because I'm not sure if we ever did decide on exactly what it was we're having. What is it that we're going to have? So we're looking at a 6-lane pool, but how many courts, gymnasium spaces size-wise? Could you just give me a kind of broad overview of what the building would look like?
Yeah, certainly. On a high level too, those details are also included in the 2019 YMCA business plan, which is also on our website for those who want to review it. But we certainly wanted to articulate when we looked at the square footage on this footprint and what we could accommodate. 2 pools are considered, a 6-lane 25-meter pool and a leisure pool available for younger aquatic classes and therapeutic purposes. We also included the Dectron and the laundry tunnels, which are considered to are underground around the pool and important to have, although none of us will see it. It's an important mechanism for the operation of the pool. The walking running track can be multi-use. Conditioning center, which includes the weights and fitness room, a fitness studio for classes and individual usage. We also considered space for a gymnasium and storage, 2 multi-purpose rooms, change rooms, and then your adult change rooms, female change rooms, and office space as well.
Okay, so we're looking at one 6-lane 25-meter pool. Now I know we've talked about this before, but as we're building this, we're going to build it once and we're going to do it right. I know financially we have to be very responsible, but to go to something like a competitive pool like Owen Sound, 8 lanes, 25 meters, is that a significant add-on, or is that something that our swimming teams could look into helping raise funds for?
As we start to look at amenities outside of the scopes that I've just identified, and that's identified in the business plan, it will increase the cost of the facility immensely. We can certainly, throughout the process of the 2022 of developing drawings and reaching out to our key stakeholder users, can certainly look at what amenities they would be looking for. But council needs to be aware that as we increase those amenities, it increases the cost.
Yep. So then you said 1 gymnasium. I looked down the road to the south to us to our neighbors, our good friends in Kincardine, and at the Davidson Center, they have 3 courts. They have a facility that I believe is one of the best around. I really do believe we should be having what Kincardine has and then modernize it and make it a little better. I'd even suggest that we form some kind of a committee just to finalize what it is that we want for this project before we go to the conceptual drawings. You know, is it 1 court, 2 court, 3 courts? Knowing the business that I'm in, I know that we are sorely lacking in gymnasium space. The teams that play, whether it's dodgeball, volleyball, badminton, basketball, they're maxed out and haven't been able to add teams in a long time. We go to our public schools and it's great, but our public schools are small. You can't really play at GC Houston. It's a nice spot for 1 team, but the walls are close. I'd like to see everything in a one-stop shopping place. You know, looking at that, but what is it that the community really wants? We have 1 shot at this, and I think, Mr. Mayor, that we should really look at forming some kind of committee just to finalize what it is that we want for this design.
To the director, then, is it your idea that as part of developing those concept drawings in 2022, that there would be some public involvement in that stage of the process? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. We'll be looking at what ad hoc groups will need to be determined, ad hoc committees will need to be determined to work through the design process and also the fundraising process as well. So there'll be several ad hoc groups that will be imperative to the success of this facility prior to the doors ever opening.
But they would be created prior to the conceptual drawings being made?
Correct. They'll be part of the beginning solutions before we even start to talk to an architect as well.
So to the director, would you, could you, as you're able, provide a report to the striking committee to let us know timeline-wise, when about you might expect the committee to work on appointing those groups so that they meet your schedule? Is that possible?
Yep. As staff, we've started that process last week, and we'll continue that process as well. Some of the documents that we'll also be reviewing throughout this is going back and looking at some of the plans that have been developed throughout the course. We've developed several plans in work with consultants. Although some of them may be dated, it's still important that we review those, as well as our recreation master plan, just to solidify that the trends that we heard in those days are still relevant today.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think I got Councillor Schreider next.
Thank you, and through you, thanks, Jane, for the update. I guess just one question that I have and a comment that I have is it's indicated in the report that the approach for 2022 will come to us during budget deliberations. So I'll put that at November or December. Is that correct?
If that's the date that we'll be presenting budget, then yeah, you are correct. If not before, I suspect we'll be coming forward to you prior to budget deliberations, just to keep you abreast of what the details are and how the process is going, so that there's no surprises come budget.
And I'm glad to hear that, because I think when I read that report, I think my worry was that I think that's too late. I think that's too late during budget deliberations to bring forward what I think will be a great deal of information if we're looking at the scope, the consultants that are required, and construction methods. I think that I love the idea of having an ad hoc committee. I hope that a member or two or three of council would also be on that committee. But I just feel that the budget timeline to hear some of those plans for the approach is too late when it comes time for that information. I'm hoping that maybe we would receive that. I don't know if in the summertime, like I think it's going to be quite extensive, and I'm just wondering if we could kind of firm up a timeline as to when we would receive that information.
Staff was anticipating fall. If we are looking at a summer, then we'll look at our other work plans that we have on the go right now and see if we can juggle some of those around to make those dates possible.
Okay.
The important,
Well,
the important
go
thing,
ahead.
I think, is that council has the information it needs at budget time to make the decisions for funding that are going to be required. I mean, the primary decisions we have to make for 2022 will be spending a couple of $1 million to hire a prime consultant, do a design, perhaps hire some other consultants to get to buildable drawings. So we need the councilor's concern, I think, is right in that council will need to know enough information to be able to confidently spend that money. I think the administration understands that. So I think, yeah, I guess that would be my comment there. Councillor Schreider, do you have more comments to make?
No, that's summed up great. I appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks, Jane.
The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think Councillor Schreider, thanks for raising that point. I think it's a very valid point in that we try to, this business plan presentation from the Family Y is going to take significant amount of time, and I think the more time we have the better. I wouldn't want to leave it till November, December. I think that if you can get some negotiations started in even August, September, I think would be a valuable thing to happen. I think from a community standpoint, this is a good news story that in the spring of 2023 we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony for our sports complex. Although I tend to think maybe it might be the fall of 2023, but I appreciate the fact you got in here in the spring of 2023, which is wonderful, and you have to set a target. So I just think it's a very positive report, Jane. I'm glad you brought it forward in February rather than waiting till the fall, and it keeps the community up to date too and in the loop. That they feel a little more plugged in terms of where are we at with our rec complex planning process. So I think this was a good thing to do tonight, and the fact we're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony in 2023 is very positive. So thanks for your report, Jane.
Just to be clear, what we're going to have in the spring of 2023 is a sod turning, not a ribbon cutting.
Sorry. Yeah, I was a little ahead of myself.
But it is, and you're quite right, Vice Deputy Mayor. It is a a good news story. We're heading toward a construction start in spring 2023. And I think it's important to note, and everyone here knows it, but it's important to note that actually, given what we have left to do, is a fairly aggressive timeline. And so we need to keep making progress and get some, and there's several decisions we have to make between now and then. And so we have to keep moving forward. I think everybody here wants to see that construction date stick in the spring of 2023. So I think hopefully we can all collaborate together to make that happen. So thanks for that update, Jane. We appreciate that report. The next one is an information report on snowmobile access to the urban core, and the Director of Community Services.
Thank you. And through you, staff have been working closely with the Snowmobile Club and the Saugeen Rail Trail and determining a safe route access into the urban area from the south end of Port Elgin. Priority is ensuring safety for all of our patrons. Although a change in route will not be in place for this winter, staff will continue to work with both parties to ensure a mutual solution is agreed upon. Another meeting has been scheduled to walk the area of the Saugeen Rail Trail to determine if a parallel trail could be considered while accessing the Mill Creek Bridge. Further inspections and modifications to Mill Creek Bridge would need to be completed prior to snowmobile usage being permitted, and staff will continue to keep council informed of the outcome.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Mayette and then Councillor Schreiber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, I'm very happy to see this on this report here tonight, and I want to thank everybody involved in bringing this together. I know Councillor Schreiber was involved, and the Vice Deputy Mayor and the Mayor, and of course Jane, and all the consultation that's taken place over the past few weeks, because realistically we did create a significant hazard for the snowmobile patrons of the town when we closed the Culp Bridge, which was their preferred route to get across Mill Creek into Region South. But even before that, in order for the snowmobile user groups to be able to access the amenities of our town, the restaurants, the hotels, the gas stations, they still had to run across Concession 6. And if anybody hasn't been out there over the winter, and I drive that road virtually every day because I live on that road. That's my main access into town. When you have snowmobiles, and sometimes many snowmobiles on busy days, the sunny days, the snowy days we've had this February have just been fantastic for snowmobile conditions. We've had thousands of snowmobiles. Every time they cross that bridge, virtually it's a life and death situation. The Concession 6 bridge. Because the bridge is not wide. It's just a 2-lane bridge, and you've got snowmobiles. Then you've got a blind corner, and I just hope that we come up with a viable solution to this before such a time as somebody's seriously injured or worse. But in ways of a question, I read the report carefully, as you imagine that I would have. And when you talk about modifications to the bridge, are we talking about and I was a little confused when I read it. Are we talking about putting parallel tracks on the bridge so that snowmobiles and I guess snowshoers or walkers would be on different tracks? Is that what's imagined, or as it is on the rest of the trail? Because quite frankly, I'm more of a walker on the rail trail than a snowmobiler. I do own a snowmobile that I use to run back to the bush and things like that, but I'm not a trail rider per se, but I'm more of a walker, and we walk our dogs on a daily basis, quite often on the rail trail. And when you're doing that, I wouldn't necessarily, I pick my times, but whenever I run across snowmobiles, there's never once that I've felt threatened by a snowmobiler. They always either come to a complete stop, or they go to a dead crawl when they go by you. They wave. Quite often they might stop and say hello. It's totally cordial. So to imagine that for the small stretch of space across the Mill Creek Bridge, that having a shared trail would somehow cause some kind of undue hazard to a potential snowshoer or hiker, I think is really unrealistic. And of course, that's the question: is there a dual trail being considered for that?
I think the director can answer it. The director.
Yeah, I think a dual trail on the bridge itself is your question, I believe, if I heard that correctly. I don't believe there'll be space on for a parallel trail. There'll have to be a shared trail. And when we talk about modifications, we're looking at the sustainability of that bridge once snowmobilers start using it. So it will be some form of decking that will need to be considered, and some alterations to the railing as well. The assessment hasn't been completed as of yet. The last one was done in, I believe it was 2011. So in conversations with the county, they are approaching the timeline where they are due for another assessment, which will assist us in determining exactly what those modifications need to be done. We hope that through these conversations that assessment can be accelerated so that we can start moving in order to have a safe opportunity for snowmobilers and walkers in that vicinity.
Right, and just as a follow-up, I agree. If there's some modifications need to be done, that's fine. But keep in mind two things. The exact same design is used on the two trestle bridge that are just this side of Paisley, just north of Paisley. So those don't have a reinforced deck on them. They're just the same cross boards, pressure treated wood that's on ours. And if you go there in the summertime, because we walk down there sometimes for a different change of scenery, walk the dogs down there. The decking is not being degraded after 10 years of snowmobile use. Because let's face it, there's snow typically on top of the bridge when there's people going across it. So, I mean, if you want to put plywood down, that's fine. I would say go ahead. And the second point that I think people need to remember is that the deck and the railings that were put on that bridge were paid for by the ATV and the Snowmobile Club, right? So they think how those clubs must feel when they spent all that money to have that decking and railings put up there some 10 years ago, and they've been barred from using it ever since. So I'm glad to see finally we're getting cooler heads prevailing, and that we're going to have people be able to access Port Elgin South End across that bridge without having to run down the ditch and across the bridge on concession sticks. Because the realistic fact is snowmobilers contribute a significant amount of tourism to our economy, and they stay in hotels. I ran into a couple at the gas station at Canadian Tire just last week, and they told me how they had ridden up from Teeswater. They're from Chatham. They drove to Teeswater. They drove in here. They stayed overnight at the Super 8 hotel. They had supper at the Boston Pizza. They filled up their two snowmobiles with gasoline. So that's just two people, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people. And those communities that roll out a nice, easy access route that is safe and accessible, that people don't have to ride across concrete and asphalt and dangerous intersections, are the communities that people learn about, that we roll out the carpet for snowmobilers. And I think for the sake of our tourism, the sake of our economy, the sake of our safety of our local residents and our visitors, I encourage you to pursue this, and I thank you for your progress so far. Thanks.
It's important to remember, just as a note to your comments, Councillor, that the bridge is the county's bridge. So all those decisions about the decking and whatever it is, or even how it's used, are county decisions and not ours. So we don't really have control over any of that. I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who's listening, that that won't be us making those calls or spending that money. Councillor Schreider, I think, and then I had the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and through you. And yeah, Dave, thanks for the comments. And it is a unique agreement with regards to that section of trail and the bridge, as the mayor had pointed out, because I think that the rail trail has an agreement with the county, and the rail trail has an agreement also with the municipality. So there's a couple of different sections at play there. But thank you to Jane and Frank for putting this working group together. We've met once over Zoom, and then I think it's one afternoon or one evening this week that we're going to meet and actually walk the site. We're all going to meet as a group, walk the site. We've been there individually, but I think to look at it through a lens of what can we do to help solve the problem. So everybody that's around that table and everybody that's on that walk wants to make sure that we reduce any liability, any risk to any of our trail users. Everybody at that table are trail users, whether you ride on them, walk on them, snowshoe on them, or ski on them, but we all have a common goal. So the rail trail does, though, play a very large role with regards to the upgrades to the bridge and the upgrades to that trail up there as well. So I think that they deserve a large pat on the back for maintaining our so many kilometers of trail that we have through the municipality. They're at the table, they're willing to have these conversations and work with the snowmobilers, with the county and with the town to find a solution. So we thank them as well. So I think it's this Thursday, Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it'll be a good site meeting at least, and to continue those conversations, and that we'll be able to we probably won't find a solution for this year. I think our goal is to find a solution for the next snow season for snowmobiling.
All right, thank you. Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I had Councilor Schreider, right, like the Saugeen Rail Trail Association, I had an opportunity to speak with Jessica Carter, the president of the Saugeen Rail Trail Association this past week, and Bruce Alexander on a couple of occasions, and very receptive and understanding that we need to find a way to get our snowmobilers in across the Mill Creek Bridge and across concession 6 and join up with the trail across the road. And so I think there's a real willingness there to work together, and very, very positive. And I had a conversation too with Brett Schuler today and Dan Friday. Brett's the president of the Southampton Snowmobile Association. And he threw some numbers at me. It's pretty impressive, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind me indulging me here, but they have 350 trail permits this year, which is up 50 permits from last year. And Grey Goose wide, 9,000 snowmobilers. 9,000 snowmobilers have permits in the Grey Goose area. That's up 2,500. Up 2,500 from last year. So, obviously perfect conditions are good conditions this year from a winter perspective, and as compared to other years. And I just thought, I thought with snowmobilers, getting them into town, how's it important? And Council Matt talked about the economic spin-offs, and I went into did a little research today on the economic impact, and it was a study carried out by the Ontario Snowmobile Association back in 2019 that studied the impact of snowmobiling in Ontario. The study concluded that based on $842 million in spending by snowmobilers per year, as reported by survey respondents, it generates an estimated $1.6 billion in economic spinoffs, and that was in 2019. In a good year this year, they go on to say that in a good year, that economic spinoff could be up to $3.3 billion per year. So Councilman Matt's absolutely right. And you drive by, whether it's Boston Pizza or Lord Elgin or Canadian Tire, Walmart, all the time seeing snowmobiles. And it's a very important part of our tourism trade here. And so for me, getting them across Mill Creek Bridge is really important. And I think we need to find a way to get that done, Mr. Mayor. I want to give you a lot of credit too, Mr. Mayor. It was one of your suggestions of getting them across Mill Creek Bridge, making an immediate 90-degree turn, and taking them to Lamont Sports Park. I know the Saugeen Rail Trail Association, there's some opposition putting them on the rail bed itself and competing with walkers and skiers and so on and so forth in the wintertime. But there's a way to do this amicably, cooperatively, between the Snowmobile Association and the Saugeen Rail Trail Association, and that's a parallel trail. And Jane mentioned it earlier. That's not that hard to do. You bring them across the bridge and you take them to Lamont Sports Park, and Council Matt and Councilor Schreider, they've done a lot of work on this too. And I think they both agree that might be a real good solution. So, Mr. I was hoping that, we could turn this, and we are anyways, but turn it back to staff. They're obviously meeting this week, and speaking with Andrew Beamer this week from Bruce County, the bridge, you're right, Mr. Mayor, like that bridge is owned by the county, and the bridge inspection report has to be updated. But in conversation with Andrew, he said, Mike, if council sends us off a letter saying that we'd like to see the bridge inspection report done, I'll get it done in April, May, pending, approvals from his bosses. But when do you need to get the bridge inspection report completed? And he thinks it could be done quickly. And he really feels that, by next December, January, we can get snowmobilers onto that bridge. So I just think this whole thing is doable, and I think we need to get them across. It's a very important part of our tourism trade here, snowmobiling, and so that'd be my recommendation, Mr. Mayor. Probably gonna do that tonight anyways, but turn back to staff and let's take it to the next step and get it done. I think it's really doable.
Yeah, I mean, it's an information report for this evening, and I think the intention is that staff will continue to work on it. And one benefit is that I am one of Mr. Barton's bosses, and I can certainly help to push that forward at the county level. And I think that and there's no reason why we have to push very hard. The county's been very eager to partner with us in these discussions. They've been present at the meetings that have been had so far, and so I know they will work with us to try to come up with a solution here for sure. But we'll make sure that happens. Are there further comments? I just wanted to make two comments. One, well, two things are true. One, that the Saugeen Rail Trail is a vital linkage as a pedestrian and cyclist only linkage heading north-south through Port Elgin and Southampton. And the second thing is that snowmobilers are a vital economic driver in our community, and we want them to be able to enter the municipality safely. And we can achieve both of those things, and we will. So thank you for that update, Jane. And then that moves us then on to item 3, information report on the 2022 men's Tankard curling event.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, I don't have much more to add to it. Doug Flowers gave a pretty lively deputation for us, but the information's there in the report for you. It's an exciting event. We are thrilled to be working with the Port Elgin Curling Club and Curl On to host this event. Granted, it is at our busiest month in the Plex, I'll be honest with you, and we've reached out to our key stakeholders already and had a conversation with them, and they are willing to work with us and see the benefit of this event coming to our community. So I really don't have anything more to add to the report, but I will certainly bring updates to you as I receive them.
That's great. Does anybody have anything further they want to ask about that? Yeah, the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a great event. I remember, I guess it's been a few years now, when we had the Scotties tournament at the Southampton Curling Club. And the number of people that came in to view that was amazing. To bring it into the Plex here, we're going to bring, as Doug said, thousands of people per day. That's fantastic. It'll be a great show for the community.
Yeah, Councilor Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Jane, would you just once again recap the dates and the times and how a person might go about gaining admission, whether it's advanced ticket sales or things like that? And on we're doing it at the Plex, so how many ice sheets do you imagine they're going to be putting on the rink?
So those details certainly are being worked out by the organizing committee, the host committee. The dates I can tell you are February the 6th to the 13th. I do not have times. Their tech staff have certainly been in touch with our tech staff. They haven't shared with us how many rinks they'll be putting down. So unfortunately, I don't have that information for you. But as I said, as I get that information, I'd be happy to share it with council. I'm sure there'll be opportunities that council will be able to be part of as well through the festivities.
Well, and hopefully by February of next year, we'll be able to have in-person spectating as well.
Mm-hmm.
That would sure be nice. Are there further comments or questions? This one, don't see any. So, all right, then we'll move on to item 4, an information report on the finance processes review and the treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Town staff have concluded a finance processes review led by Leading Edge Group that focused on ways in which we could better apply lean principles to our finance processes. This process was funded through the province's Municipal Modernization Program Intake 1. The third-party report is being posted on the town website next week as part of the conditions of the funding agreement with the province. And so this information report and the accompanying third-party report is being presented to council in order to inform them prior to that being done. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the members of the finance division who each played a role in identifying areas for improvement and spent time with the consultant in order to advance the report. We look forward to finalizing the implementation plan and to advancing recommendations outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there comments from members? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, thank you, Daniel, for your report. And this is again solid and provides some clear direction for finance. And so again, I said it a few times to you, but tremendous work and doing a tremendous job for the town. It's a little bit off topic, Mr. Mayor, but I just if I may ask this question at this point in time, and it's not quite directly related, but it's about the modernization. If I could ask this question now, the municipal modernization program is where it's being funded by. If I may ask this question to Kara or CAO. Kara, when's the next deadline for the modernization funding, and will we be provided with a list of the types of projects who you'll be applying for that next phase? When will we see that?
The CAO.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor. So the next deadline for the next intake of the modernization funding is March 15th. So staff are working right now to bring you a report on March 8th. There'll be two reports. The first report will actually allocate the funding from the 2019 funds that were received for the modernization funding. And the second report will address 3 potential projects that we're hoping to apply for this next stream.
Okay, is it something that council has input into in terms of the types of projects that you're applying for? Like I may have an idea, for example, around transportation or housing. Is it something that staff are just saying, here are the 3 ideas, and what do you think, council? Or is there an opportunity for us to submit ideas?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to have a discussion with you offline on what those ideas may be and how we can incorporate them. I don't know if there's a different format you see to that, but I'd be happy to discuss that with you.
That's fine. No, I just you don't need to do that tonight, obviously, but I'll get something. We'll discuss it sometime. Thank you.
Further comments about this report? I just say, Daniel, thank you for your work on putting this together. Obviously, we can always improve, and sometimes it's hard to know how. And this report gives us some pretty good ideas on how, on areas where we can improve. But I think once you've got an implementation plan, you're going to end up with a better and more robust and even more effective Treasury Department than we have right now, and that's what we want. So I look forward to seeing some of these recommendations implemented. Thank you. So that moves us then on to the final one, an information report on the employment lands update and the Director of Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This information report is to continue the conversation regarding the municipally owned employment lands at the south end of Port Elgin. Through review of a draft report from MHBC Planning and in conversation with town engineering staff believe we have a path forward regarding servicing and have outlined some high-level details within this report. We are expecting the final report from MHBC Planning in the coming weeks and look forward to sharing this with Council. Amanda is in attendance this evening, and if there's questions relating servicing, I will ask that we turn to her.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from members? The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you for the report, Jess. It's unfortunate that the MHBC report was not complete at the time, but I look forward to seeing that. And then at that time, will staff be coming forward to give us an idea of how you plan to go out and sell, market, get rid of, fill in our employment lands by that time?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yep, so staff are starting to have some of that conversation now, certainly with economic development. So Heather Hyde and I have had some high-level conversation on marketing of these properties and certainly connecting back with our local businesses who are looking to expand and keeping them abreast of these reports that are coming to council and where this project is. So we do anticipate that we'll have something within the next number of weeks. Maybe in March we'll have something to share in regards to marketing. It will certainly be aligned with our Invest Saugeen Shores brand that you've seen the last few years that Heather's done a really good job with those publications. So it'll align with that branding.
That's great, because as the Vice Deputy Mayor said the last time, it was almost 20 years for us to fill in our first industrial park. And I really don't believe that it's going to take us that long to fill in this one. So thank you and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Further comments? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Jessica, thank you for the report. And maybe it's an Amanda question, but I see in the report that, the sanitary sewer is probably, with a pumping station and so on and so forth, is too expensive to run into Lamont Sports Park. And I'm just wondering, rather than I understand it will be very expensive, but I'm just wondering, Mr. Mayor, if we could, through to Amanda, get to at least get a number. I wonder if we should discard sanitary that quickly. I know it's very expensive, but could we at least see a number for this council to at least consider sanitary services? Septic beds probably are the way to go with the entire development, no doubt, because of cost. But I'm just wondering what that number looks like, Amanda. Would it take a lot of work? Like, you probably have the per square, or not square, but the running meters, or meter of what a pipe would cost, to get it from where I guess the campground right now is where it ends, to get it into Lamont. Would it take a lot of work to at least to get us a number for what it would cost to take sanitary into the site?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it would take a lot of effort because it's not just extension of that service. So it's the sizing of a pumping station, force main, and all the off-site works. So it's not something that we could turn around in a day or two. It would involve hiring of a consultant to do that analysis.
So I guess maybe a question of you, Mr. Mayor, are we interested in, as a council, in just accepting the fact we're going to do septic beds versus, do we want a number? Do we want to see a number tonight and say no sanitary, there's going to be septic beds? Is that what we're accepting tonight or not?
I think, I could turn it over to the CAO or to either the directors. Maybe the CAO has some comments.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I think what you have in front of you tonight is an information report. We're going to see more detail come forward. I'm going to loop back to the sanitary sewer piece. You're going to see more information, more detail come forward when the MHBC report comes forward. I think once you've had a chance to consider that and digest that, we could potentially have a more fulsome discussion in and around the sewers. I think that staff have done a really good job of looking into this at the initial stages of what it would cost, and for the number of lots and what we're looking at creating, it is somewhat cost prohibitive to consider the sanitary sewers.
Okay.
I don't think that precludes us from ever doing them down the road. And should the level of development at the south end of Port Elgin reach a point, it could be something that we could revisit, and we can ensure the right language is in the development agreements in order to ensure connection when we get to that point.
Thanks for that. And I just had a follow-up, and if you don't mind, it just it's to do with water services. And again, I'm just wondering, and we'll see the report in the future, and maybe it's too early again, but I mean, are you putting some thought into, like, when we're irrigating those ball fields out there, at 85 cents a cubic meter, whatever the cost is for town water, and it's chlorinated and a hot summer day, and we're watering out there, and it's expensive to purify, and is it the right water source to be used to watering a ball fields? And secondly, should there be a combination of well systems and potable water for a washroom facility, for the canteen, for the business park washrooms, et cetera, et cetera? Will there be consideration be given, Amanda, to taking a town water in there for potable water for washrooms and for the canteen, and also a combination of well systems to water irrigate our ball fields? Any preliminary, and I'm not looking for all the answers tonight again, any preliminary thoughts on well systems and potable water? Maybe I see Jane just came on.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. It's certainly a little bit of early days for us, but we are looking at doing testing in the spring when we're able to determine whether or not we can put wells in there for irrigation purposes to use the sand points. So if that's what you're referring to, that's certainly something we'd like to entertain, because we know that we have droughts, we have summer times where we have watering bans on. We need to ensure that we're still watering those diamonds. Well, those are the items that we're looking at right now. And as I said, we'll be doing those testings in the spring once the snow melts.
It's good to know, Jane. One of the good things we did over the years was Pearson's Field Soccer Complex in Hellerwell. They have well systems and irrigation, and that's some of the best turf we have in town. So to me, well systems for irrigation is important. I mean, I'll end it there, but I'm looking forward to seeing the final report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Councillor Maya.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, just a couple of thoughts that I had on this development as well. And one of them, I'll go back to the overall, and Vice Deputy Mayor Maya and I had this conversation a few weeks ago, and that's why I've been so anxious to see the overview of where the diamonds are actually going to be and where the industrial lots are going to be, because to me, from what I understand, is where the gravel pit is now is where the ball diamonds are going to be. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking bedrock and we're going to be putting soil on top of it and irrigation and trying to grow grass on top of hard pan. And then we're taking beside it the area that is currently grass, which is an agricultural field that has been grass for 100 years or more since it was cleared by the pioneers. And we're going to tear that up and put an industrial lot on the grass side. To me, it's backwards. And for not just the reasons that I just stated, but also we're going to put the ball diamonds hidden over the hill. And once again, I drive this road every day. Ball diamonds are going to be down below the hill. Like you have to, all you're going to see is the light standards from the road. And then we're going to have an industrial lots along the side of the road. To me, you want to put your best and the best assets in your town where people can see them. Along concession 6 in that area, which is now grass, or it's a wheat field. It's been a wheat field farmed by the Kelly family for many years. That should be where the ball diamonds are. And down behind where the gravel pit is should be where the industrial park is, on the hard pan, which is perfect for building buildings on top of because it's already stone, right? When it comes to irrigation, it's hard to get water over there. We've had a lot of trouble with the families that live along concession 6 and their wells going dry. If we start punching wells into an aquifer, which is already distressed, then we're just going to give those people a harder time. Albeit we've ran some potable water out concession 6 the past couple of years, but water is hard to get in the ground in that section. The geological mapping will show you it's not a great spot. What has been done in other areas, like just across the way at the golf course, is they build a pond, and during high flow levels of the river or Mill Creek, they pump water from the creek. They get a water take permit. They pump water from the creek and they put it into a pond. And then during irrigation times, they pump out of the ponds. The mayor will be familiar with this concept as well. Piper's Glen does it quite well. Most golf courses do it. They fill up their ponds when the time is right, and then they draw down the ponds when the irrigation time comes around. So just a few thoughts. And the one last thought is, when it comes to the force main and bringing services into the Lamont area, we seem to be hung up on the paradigm that they have to connect in concession 6. It occurs to me, though, at the other end of the gravel pit, you've got Barnes Avenue and Walmart. They're all on a large main, I imagine. I imagine the main trunk goes down Goderich Street. What would be the problem with putting a force main at the other end and going underneath the rail trail and connecting in with the main trunk of the Saugeen Shores, instead of going back out concession 6? And as the director of public works pointed out, that main isn't big enough on concession 6. It would have to be upgraded to take a force main, or there's significant upgrading required. Is there a possibility to do it at the other end and go like under the rail trail and connect into the backside of Walmart and Barnes Avenue and the main trunks that feed our sewage and septic systems?
Dave looked at that. Maybe the director has some comments.
Sure. It may be a long response. Many of those items I can respond to. The first is there is not bedrock at the bottom of the gravel pit. There is still granular material down there. Jane just received a geotechnical report, and the testing that she was referring to is a drawdown test to see what the aquifer could support for permit to take water to do irrigation systems. That section of the land has also gone through the public planning process already, and the zoning and official plan amendment are in they're complete. So the rec lands have already been removed from the extractive purpose and put into our zoning bylaw and official plan to allow for the recreational lands to go on. Whereas the employment lands don't have that same designation completed. We did look at the sanitary servicing for 2 different directions, one down concession 6 over Bruce Road 25 and through the Lake Range subdivision over there, as well as coming through Barnes, but there's a piece of private property between Barnes Ave and the rail trail that we would need to purchase to do that. So there has been a lot of thought gone into the servicing of that. The other option is in the future, as the settlement boundary expands, there's other ways to go towards 1314 maybe, or there's a few different options that we have looked at and could look at. All of them came back as ballpark very expensive, so that's where they had stopped looking at those there. But if you wish to send those comments or questions over in an email, I'd be happy to address them point by point. At this point, I think we're comfortable enough that the engineering staff and planning staff support Jessica's financing request for the funding at that value, and that could move forward with getting us some money to move the employment lands forward without having us sort of stall or risk any future purchasers.
Okay, are there any further comments from any members about this one? Don't see any, so thank you very much, Jessica, for the report. And then that moves us on, well, that's the end of our agenda, so that will move us on to announcements by members, and we'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Smith.
I would just like to welcome back Saugeen Shores Minor Hockey. They're taking to the ice, and all is as well, and we're happy to have them. Thanks to staff for hosting and getting the facilities up and running.
Thank you. Councillor Schreider.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grace.
I have nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Just wanted to take a second to recognize the passing of former Southampton Fire Chief Tom Henry. Just wanted to make it known to the public. He had served us for 30 years as a volunteer and served at the end of his career as the fire chief in Southampton, I guess before amalgamation had happened. And I just wanted to make sure that our community knew that we lost a valuable member of our volunteer fire department.
Thank you for that. Sorry, Councillor Mayat.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I always seem to be talking about the fish, and I want to keep that tradition going. Our Lake Huron Fishing Club has been rethinking the way that we do some of our fundraising. As many of you will know, the Chantry Chinook Classic Derby is one of our premier fundraising events that we've held annually for over 35 years. And last year, unfortunately, in 2020, it was the first year we missed, and that was due to, of course, COVID. And so this year, some soul searching has been going on recently, and we're able to announce that we're going to be going ahead with the Derby in a slightly different format. We're going to have, in fact, 3 mini derbies, if you like. We're going to have a spring derby taking place over the May long weekend. We're going to have one again in the summer, probably around the August civic holiday weekend, and then one in the fall or getting into September at the Labor Day weekend. So we're going to have mini derbies, and one of the main concerns with running a derby during COVID is having people come together at the weigh stations and transferring potential contamination. We're looking at using a method of putting certified yardsticks and going by a length of fish rather than a weight of fish, and having participants photograph their fish and send it into a website using some of the technology that's available to us. We have a new Facebook group as opposed to a Facebook page. And if anybody out there is interested in joining that group, anybody can join. Lake Huron Fishing Club Facebook group. And on there, we have fundraising activities going on all the time. There's raffles and things. And so we've got some young people who are stepping up to the plate and doing great things for our club. And I encourage you all to take a look at our stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing from me this evening, so we'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Carr. All in favor? Committee of the Whole stands adjourned, and we'll reconvene at 8:30. I will call to order this regular council meeting, and second item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if you have one of those you'd wish to declare. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions, deletions, or amendments. We have no public meetings. So that moves on to adoption of the minutes, and we have 4 sets of minutes there, and I have a resolution. The council adopt the minutes of the council meetings of February 8, 2021, and the planning minutes of February 16, 2021, and note and file the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of February 8, 2021 as presented. Is there a mover and second? Moved by Gray, seconded by Matheson. Questions or comments, any of those sets of minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. That moves us then on to reports of the committee of the whole, and there is one report there, an infrastructure and development report regarding speed limit policy, roundabout feasibility policy, and traffic calming policy. And there is a resolution that council adopt the speed limit policy, the roundabout feasibility policy, and the traffic calming policy. Is there a mover and seconder for the resolution? Moved by Mayette, seconded by Schreider. Any questions or comments to that resolution? Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, just a question for the director. How soon do you think we will see recommendations for changes to speeds and stop signs as was outlined in the report 2 weeks ago? And if we had some that we wanted to run through the policy that we know of that weren't necessarily identified, would it be appropriate to bring them directly to you?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're hoping to have the bylaw updated the week before July 1st. So final approval by council, the council meeting before July 1st, so that we could do social media and campaign for that weekend. So that means we'll be bringing back to committee the beginning of May, all the recommendations. And yes, if you have intersections or roads that you want looked at, just send me an email and we'll make sure they're on the list. I will note that if they don't have current traffic counts, then it may miss this deadline so that the traffic counts can be done. But I'm assuming because we did 274 of them last year, that it's probably contained in that data set.
Okay, any other questions or comments? The Vice Deputy Mayor?
It was just a compliment, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to thank Amanda for the change she had in the wording with, staff considering characteristics of the neighborhood and other factors taken into those considerations. I just think it's a nice change, and appreciate that you put that in there, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? I don't see any, so all in favor? It's carried. All right, then that moves us on to report of municipal officers and committees, and we have a staff report on the Southwest Ontario Development Fund application, and there is a resolution that council authorized a funding application to be submitted to the Southwest Ontario Development Fund to support servicing of the employment lands on concession 6. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Matheson, seconded by Schreider. Do you have any comments you want to make to that, the director? No? Are there questions or comments from members? I don't see any, so we'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right, then that moves us on to bylaws, and there are 4 bylaws there for your consideration. Does anybody wish to have any of those drawn out for individual consideration? I don't see any, so I'll read the resolution. It's moved that the following bylaws are hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 22nd day of February 2021. 1/10/2021 being a bylaw to authorize an amending agreement with the Saugeen Shores Chamber of Commerce. 2/11/2021 being a bylaw to authorize a memorandum of understanding with Miramichi Shores Land Development Limited for the Woodland Trail. 3/12/2021 being a bylaw to authorize an agreement with 2786803 Ontario Incorporated to deliver the Learn to Ride and mountain biking programs. And 4/13/2021 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meetings of the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Schreider, seconded by Matheson. Any questions, any of those bylaws? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And then that moves us on to adjournment. I have a motion that this regular council meeting of February 22nd, 2021 hereby adjourns at 8:34 p.m. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Smith, second by Grace. All in favor?